Again, the social aspect of the ESG is very difficult to measure, and well is a perfect guideline for that.
Then why should companies or building owners care about, a sustainable workplace offering that?
If there's the capacity of 10%, why should you use the whole building?
So that this is a big, part of the global footprint.
Almost 40%. 28% of that is in the operational phase of the building.
Hi, and welcome to this live webinar, and thank you for tuning in. It's really nice to see so many of you out there. Today, I am here with Desmond from Smart Business Concepts, and we are going to be talking about why it's important to create a sustainable workplace and how ESG can help organizations to make decisions on improvement and design around the workplace. Desmond is our partner from the Netherlands. He is well accredited professional, and we'll of course also talk about some of the other solutions that you guys bring to your customers in order to help with improvement around sustainability at the workplace. So if you have any questions, please write them down and we'll take them at the end of this webinar. But before we get started, Desmond, maybe you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Sebastian. Thanks for having me here.
Yeah, of course.
Live now. Normally we communicate via Teams and so on.
Yeah,
so
this is nice.
Good to see you. Desmond Kentrop from Smart Business Concepts. We are a system integrator with the aim of optimizing your workspace and your work environment by advising, selling, deploying, and installing various hard and software solutions.
Yeah.
And we develop and realize future-proof working environments, and that adds value to both the building but also the user.
Yeah.
So our basic idea is having a good and healthy working environment.
Yeah, and that's I think something that most people they appreciate. But so you are really like one-stop shop for companies who think about how can we make the workplace more sustainable, a better workplace for our employees. You can start with the analysis of the building, the more consultant part, and then also come with the actually solutions at the end.
Yeah, exactly. So they have one person to go to, one company in this.
Yeah, that's smart. I think that's a good reason for us to partner up with you guys.
I think so.
Yeah. So before we start off, maybe you could just briefly take people through what is ESG and what is it that they can use of these parts enable that makes them able to make better decisions around building management or decisions around their estate.
Yeah, ESG is the topic, of course, of this webinar. If you don't know what ESG is, then you should dive into it. But in short, ESG stands for environmental social governance. If you look at governance, that's the business conduct. I leave it there. Then you have the environmental impact of the company. So that means the resource consumption, the footprint that they have within the environment, within the planet. And then you have the social component, that is the social impact, how you treat your employees, your customers, so how you treat the people in your value chain. Yeah. So it's assess your how you behave as a company. Yeah. Not only financial, because a lot of we always look at the financial part component. Yeah.
So it's not just about looking about
exactly.
Is it a company that is in red or in black numbers, but also what are the footprint in their environment, like how do they treat people, that they do business with, employees, customers, society, and so on. Yeah. So it's a more broader scale to measure your impact on. Okay, that makes sense.
Investors look at that that way, not only at the financial component anymore.
And for today's webinar, we are mainly going to be focusing around the environmental and the social aspect, not so much the governmental aspect. But if we look a little bit go a little bit further, then why should companies or building owners care about a sustainable workplace offering that?
Yeah, that's a good question. Like almost 40% of all the built environment is responsible for the global energy-related carbon emissions. 28% of that is in the operational phase of the building. In comparison with aviation, we're always complaining about flying or not. That's around 3 or 4%.
Okay, yeah.
So it pays off to take this in consideration, the operational phase.
Yeah, so really, real estate as such in general is like one of the biggest, carbon emission. How do you say? Topics. So really, when we dig into real estate, of course, we're going to be talking mostly around the office spaces and real estate, professional buildings, and not so much housing. But it still goes to show that this is a big part of the global footprint. So it has a big environmental impact. So just to go a little bit further on then, so you have on the environmental part, you can measure on how much energy does this building use, how much energy did we use to build it, but then at the same time what I'm thinking here is that can be quite easy to measure, right? Because you have you can look at how much kilowatts did it use, this building, the last month, and so on. But what about on the social part, how does this impact the employees, and what are the payoffs of creating a sustainable workplace on the social part? Yeah,
if you look at the investment for sustainable buildings and workplaces are made, it helps you give more satisfaction for the employees. Mm-hmm. So it brings more productivity. Yeah. And you go to the office to be productive. Yeah. I think that will come back sometimes, but that's the most important thing. And during or after COVID, we needed to redesign and rethink our office space. Yeah. Do we get rid of some square meters, go smaller? We go to a hybrid setup. Yeah. And that escalated also in a focus on sustainable and healthy workplaces. Yeah. New employees, we see that they are not making the choice for €100 more. Yeah. Not for the fat car, but looking at the purpose of a company, a community, or a building, and also sustainability can help you reduce cost. Yeah. So there are some very tangible, I think so, measurements here. So what you're saying is that if you invest in a sustainable workplace, you can actually lower cost in the operational phase. So how much energy do we use? At the same time, giving a more healthy building to the employees will decrease things like sick days, will help them be more effective during their workday. Yeah. Okay, that of course make a lot of sense. Why wouldn't you just start doing that straight away then? But that's of course what we're here to talk about. Yeah. Okay, but I assume that when you do these improvements, then you have to measure on it, and you have to be able to measure that you are successful when you try to implement doing a more sustainable workplace. So how do you actually do that? How do you measure your success? That's a good and important question, because you have to start somewhere. So what's your starting point? Where you're going to measure? If you look at the the environmental part, the energy usage, you can rely on hard data. Yeah, that's not easy to get, but your energy consumption and gain insights as much as possible at the detailed level is always very good. Yeah. As I said, it's not easy. But the hard data is there, exactly. How much concrete went into the building, what is the energy consumption? So you have a starting point and then improve from there. But if you look at the social component, that's a little bit more difficult, of course, because I'm not going to ask you after every working day how you're feeling, and so on. Did you have a good day?
Yeah.
So we know to be productive, we could have some guidelines, good guidelines, of course, because it's very difficult to otherwise measure it.
Yeah. Okay. So you work from guidelines rather than getting constant feedback, really, and then the guidelines will then get that at the end, really.
Yeah.
So really, what you're saying is that you have some, and we'll dig into that now, but you have some solutions on how work from these guidelines, and that will make it more tangible how you report on the social part, but also increase different aspects of that, increase like employer satisfaction and increase health and so on. That's what we're going to be talking a little bit about now, is the WELL certification or the WELL standard that you guys work with. Can you talk about how it helps to create a sustainable workplace and why you choose to go with that certificate?
Of course. Maybe good to give a little background, because not everybody knows what WELL is.
Sure.
WELL is developed by the International Well Building Institute. Mm-hmm. It's an American association what is working worldwide. Mm-hmm. It's a well-known certification, and it's based on a framework of performance standards. Yeah. And in WELL we call it features. Yeah. So think of measuring air quality, water quality, what do you eat, nourishment. Yeah. It's about the light, so you have the right light at the right moment, not too strong, and so on. And the certification is intended to complement other certifications like BREEAM. So BREEAM is a little bit more on the environmental part, or LEED. Yeah. And WELL is focused on the person in the building, and that human-centric part. Yeah. That is a perfect fit with our focus and with our vision. Yeah. And also, of course, with the solutions that we sell. Yeah, and that's one of the reasons why I think that we partnered up with you guys. We saw that you had this focus on the people rather than the building. So people first focus, and that's the same that we try to do when we develop our solution, is make it people centric. Start with the people, how they're supposed to use the building, how they're supposed to use the resources, and so on, and then develop solutions around that. Yeah. Cool. So if we were then to say, okay, it's people centric, can you put a little bit more words on why a workplace would need a WELL certificate, or why should they care about getting a WELL certificate? Again, the social aspect of the ESG is very difficult to measure, and WELL is a perfect guideline for that. Okay, yeah. So a WELL certificate, a WELL certified workplace can demonstrate a commitment on sustainability and social responsibility. Yeah. And it also attracts and retains top talent. Yeah. And also you have customers maybe who are interested in buying with you because you have that vision, that intrinsic value. Yeah. And when you say customers, you're talking about the building owners, leasing out building, that they can show that it's a WELL certified building, so that when the customer comes over to the building, the tenant comes in and say, oh, we can use this, and we want this kind of certification for our building that we come into with our employees, because we know it's important that they have the right level of all these features you were talking about, right? The air quality to be more productive during the day. We don't want the building to be lighting up the whole night and exactly and so on, so that we're really aware about consumption and so on. It increases the productivity, healthier buildings, and give healthier employees. And I think that people in the building are the most important assets for a company as a whole. Yeah,
Yeah, we might be talking about using millions and millions on buildings, but companies, they use billions and billions on employees. I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think that in all investments that in the company do, it's a much more the numbers are much higher for how much you use on your employees that you use on leasing a building. So I think that's definitely relevant. All right, so I think that. Of course, we're the one having the webinar here, but I think that it makes sense to go in and look into these kind of certifications. But what if you were to get a WELL certification? How would you start off the process? Like, how would you start off getting people or an organization up to level so they can get these certifications?
Yeah. I understand the question. That's some phase you have to go through. Maybe it's a little bit much to talk about it all, but you start with involving a well-accredited professional, and he can or she can guide you through the process. Manage to make a project group, and then you first make a precondition review, and that's like a gap analyze, and just see what the basic requirements are at place, and then you proceed.
Okay, that makes sense. So before you start the implementation and coming in with all your ideas, analyze where are you today, how can we help close the gaps, what kind of investments is needed, what is, how can you get most gain for the buck, really, I guess, like is to see like what can you get where the biggest return of investment to start there and then start implementing. I'm also guessing then that, so you come in, you've gathered all the right people together, the analysis is done, you come in, smart business concepts comes in with, some different technologies around this. Could you explain a little bit further about, the technologies and how you help close these gaps for the customers?
Of course. We with Smart Business Concept, we first look and start. Where do you want to start as the customer? Not it's step by step. You have to have a strategy with it. So what's your strategy? What could be the first step? And then we go to the customer and say, and the customer says, okay, we have to gather all kinds of data that we can find. You have to have the strategy, and we will help them with them. And we make sure that they have the right solutions, the right integrations that are future-proof. And one of the most important things of that is that it's open source.
Okay.
And it means that they connect with other solutions that are already there. That you can gather the data easily. And so on. And
assuming that the reason why it's need to be open source is so that the solutions can talk to each other. When you go into a building and look at the different products that you will have in a building, there's a lot of different products from different vendors and brands and so on. They need to be able to talk together so that the workday for the employees can be more smooth, because it's solutions talking to each other, helping, helping out.
An ecosystem.
Exactly. So you're building up an ecosystem, and I guess that's also what you're saying. That's why you need a well-certified project leader in there to help pick out, the right kind of products that can do this, like talk together and so on.
What's the output of it?
I think you mentioned a nice example of somebody who came into a building, and you'd seen them set up like two sensors. One was for measuring one thing and the other for another thing, and really you could just buy one sensor that would measure both instead that the product is out there, but people may not be aware. So that's why it's important to have professionals help you out here, so you don't waste money on buying too many products.
Exactly. So what's the goal? What do you want to
makes sense. Also, especially if you're doing this to be a more sustainable company or a sustainable workplace.
Future-proof, is it? Can you update it? That kind of questions you can ask.
Okay. So if you look back at if we take it back to the technology, like what should how should technology support the sustainable workplace? What kind of technology? Not what kind of technology would you put in there? What should it do for the workplace?
Technology is important to help the people. So you can get all kinds of technology, of course, and we see that also. Sometimes it's too much of the technology. I think the technology has to be there for helping the people. So we change the way we work. You go once or two times at the office. Maybe we use less square meters at the office. So if you go to the office, you want to have a flawless experience, a journey. So maybe if you go by car, you want to have a parking.
Make sure there's a parking spot there for you.
You can't take the car with you into the building, of course. Another thing is you want to have a desk. You want to have the right people in. Also want to have a meeting room, for example, because if we want to meet, we do it in a meeting room. And if we have somebody external with us, you want to have also the right facilities for the meeting room. And that has to be bookable. That has to be there. And you can optimize your working day so you can really be productive. As said earlier, that's the reason why you go to the office.
So having solutions that kind of supports the employees, makes it smooth for them. We're a generation of smartphone and iPhone users. Everything has to be seamless, connected, and just one smooth operation. I think that's actually a very important aspect of it, because if you could invest in something that is, maybe has a lot of features or has a lot of nice things for the buyer who thinks, oh, this looks cool, or this looks good, or this has this nice feature. But if it's not, like you said, human-centric or people-centric, then, people, they just don't...
Get lost.
You get lost. You don't use it. And if you don't use it, it will kind of ruin the whole ecosystem that you're talking about, or you won't maybe optimize it as much as possible.
That's right. That's exactly right. And the other thing is that technology generates data. So it helps you also making decisions in your business. For example, the occupancy rate of an office. If it's empty at some days, you can imagine what you could save. The occupancy rate is very interesting to know of your office, of a meeting room. How much time is it being used? Everybody always thinks, okay, it's always booked. Okay, go there at 3:00 at the Wednesday. I can tell you it's not booked.
It's not booked,
but also, how many people are in for, and for example, food waste. So if you know that, then you can make less lunch. And the same is with the light, of course. If there's the capacity of 10%, why should you use the whole building? With light.
So now that we are looking at the whole workplace after Corona, and we're taking down less or using less square meters for the building, it needs to be optimized. We need to have data to make the right decisions. How many people are coming in during the week to know, how much lunch, if you have lunch at the office, of course. You need to prepare in the canteen.
I forgot to mention.
It's not in every place, of course. We're lucky to have it here. But also, how is your building being used? Can we, on certain days, shut off part of the building so we don't need to use energy in that part of the building, but at the same time make sure that our employers have the right resources and so on. So I think that it goes very well hand in hand.
All the solutions, we can talk for hours.
Exactly. And I think that we kind of need to round up a little bit now when it comes to that. So, but if from our conversation today, what I'm hearing is that if you look at the sustainable workplace for 2023 and also further into the future, it's a workplace that maybe uses ESG as a reporting framework to report on their business conduct and how they behave in an environmentally social way. Is a great standard that can guide them, especially when it comes to the social aspect. That can be a little bit hard to measure.
And show it also to the people who are involved. So the people are working, so that you are working on your air quality, that kind of things. Get them aligned, get it into your culture. And these guidelines could help you.
And then, the technology that supports that along the way is, of course, a big part of that you have, technology that is talking together, that is connected so that the building becomes more alive, and you can, base your decision on how the building should be used on a day-to-day basis.
It gives you the proof.
Yeah, exactly.
To make the right decisions.
Yeah, so that you can lower down the overall emissions of the building.
Yeah.
Okay, I think that sounds good. So yeah, come on, people, please get started. But I think that we are. Before we say goodbye for today, we just wanted to see if there was any questions that came in. I have a question here from a Pernille. How big an investment is needed to get started on becoming a more environmentally friendly building? So I'm not sure, but I guess that the question is about okay, if we wanted to get started on this,
could be a Dutch question.
Yeah, how many is it a big investment that is needed to get started here?
Yeah, that in general that's a difficult question to answer. It's the situation where you're at, of course. Maybe initial you have to invest a little bit more, but for sure it's gonna come back to you, because you're only gonna use the things that you're gonna pay the things that you use. I think that.
So it's a lot of other products that we have today. Like you may pay a little bit higher subscription fee, but you only pay per usage instead of just paying a lot of money all the time for having everything on.
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned, with light, that's a big consumer of the energy. Sometimes you see a building, you mentioned it already, full on. Is that necessary? Could it go to 30%, for example? And the investment is maybe only a sensor that sees if somebody is there, or is there daylight coming in, so I can dim a little bit more. That saves a lot of energy costs. So. Yeah, and that investment is not too big.
No. But let's see if there's any more questions. And just wait a little bit. I don't think so. So I think that we will say thank you very much, Desmond, for showing up.
Thanks for having me.
Really appreciated it.
Good.
So
good to see you.
Yeah, you too. And for everybody out there, you can find more information about Smart Business Concept and about Smart Business Concept over here. And sign in workspace if needed in the bottom. And reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah, please do.
Or feedback. We are really happy to hear any feedback about these webinars that we do.